Hey there, everyone. James Hilliard with you. Jason Goldberg joins me. He's a commerce strategist from Razorfish, and we want to talk about a kind of new trend going on with customer accounts. It used to be that every website I would go to, I had a unique login and password and all that. New trend, I can click on the login using your Facebook or some other type of social media credentials. As a small business owner, is there any risk to my business of offering that to my customers?
There's some potential risk. There are pros and cons to both approach. And for many small businesses, the pros outweigh the cons. So we call that technology social sign-in. And as you correctly mentioned, it's available from Facebook, also from Google, LinkedIn, and a number of other services as well. And what they're fundamentally trying to do is solve two big problems. People hate to create passwords. And we all create crappy ones. We can't remember them. There was a historical study done a few years ago that 3 out of 5 consumers would rather clean a toilet than invent a new password, right? And so using the social sign-in, just clicking that Facebook button when I'm already logged into Facebook, or the Google button when I'm already logged into Google, instead of having to invent a password, that makes it way easier for the consumer. They're more likely to do it, and therefore it'll be more successful. Another big benefit that the social sign-in gives us is that those social networks often already know a lot about that customer. And when they use social sign-in, they are allowed to share some of that information with me. So I can get their email address, I could get their gender, I could get their shipping address. Whatever information they have opted into sharing with people through social sign-in, I can now get. And so it can be a quick, easy way to learn some important things I want to know about that customer without having to go through all the friction of asking them, right? So in general, social sign-in is super useful for those two things. The potential downsides are that not everyone understands or trusts it, right? And so, there are people that have a lot of trust in Google. There are people that feel like, Google is the big brother and already knows too much about their lives, and I don't want them to know more, right? If I were creating an account to store several $1 million in Bitcoin, I'm not sure I'd be totally comfortable storing that behind a Facebook login, for example. And so there can be positive or negative trust associations, but the biggest thing is just a usability problem. Say you offer 3 different networks that they could log into, and I chose to log in with Facebook. Mm-hmm. Now I used your product or service, it was great, I didn't need it again for 6 months. I come back 6 months later to log back in, and there's 3 buttons there. I can't for the life of me remember which of those 3 I used.
Right.
And so, sometimes that can be a little confusing. Sometimes we call that NASCARing up the checkout process, because you've got all those different companies' logos in your login page.
Right.
And so, that can be complicated. So you really have to try for your unique user base. It's a great thing to experiment with, and if customers are adopting it, I would definitely not hesitate to use it. Ideally, find out what one network has the best overlap with your users and stick with just one.
I was going to say that it goes to know your audience, right? And so if they have a more social sharing mindset, Facebook might be that. If they're more the business-to-business type of a site that you're offering, that might be more of a LinkedIn that you would use. But you just really have to know your audience and focus on which one's going to be most appealing to them.